I think it's necessary to come back to the issue of Professor Jeffrey Sachs, because his talks have struck at the very heart of international order and the principle of national sovereignty. And although his rhetoric may be persuasive and his scholarship erudite, a closer inspection reveals significant flaws. And if unchallenged, what he's saying risks undermining the very bedrock of state sovereignty. And at the centre of Sachs' argument, what is so extraordinary is the comments when I last raised the issue of Sachs were really quite dismissive, saying that I hadn't done my reading and I didn't know what I was talking about, and all this sort of very, very nasty language. Um, and yet there wasn't that sort of scholarship to suggest. So, what exactly was I supposed to um, acquiesce to? And I'm not prepared to to bend over to single sentences. At the centre of Sachs' argument is an insistence. I'm coming back to this. At the centre of the Sachs argument is an insistence on the validity of an unseen, oft cited document on the internet, particularly cited by the Putinist propagandists. And this document purportedly references the idea that NATO should not expand eastward. There is no document. There is no document. And this document goes back to conversations held well after the event by Mikhail Gorbachev. That is where this story originates. There is no document. In contrast, long-standing international commitments, most notably the Budapest Memorandum, have clearly enshrined the principles of territorial integrity and sovereignty, and to favour an unsubstantiated, non-existing document over established legal instruments is not only methodologically unsound, it's dangerous. It sets a dangerous precedent that could justify compromising national borders on nothing more than tittle-tattle and conjecture. Nothing more than, oh, Boris Johnson said that. When you have no document, when you have no proof. And then, oh, and we don't need to pay any attention to the Budapest Memorandum. That's just a document that's been signed by so many different people, and is an international agreement. No, the tittle-tattle trumps everything. No, it doesn't. National sovereignty is not a negotiable commodity. It's the cornerstone of the international system. It ensures that states can determine their own destiny free from external coercion. And the Budapest Memorandum stands as a testimony to this principle, providing security assurances that are central to the stability of nations. Yet Sachs' narrative tries to dismiss this legacy by drawing attention to speculative claims such as Boris Johnson's alleged intervention. He not only muddies the waters of historical fact, but he also diverts attention from the immutable rights of nations to control their own affairs. So if you go back to the NATO enlargement of 1999 with the accession of Hungary, Poland and the Czech Republic, despite Russia's vehement protests at the time, these moves were undertaken in a context of democratic choice and the strategic recalibration of the post-Cold War Europe. And the criticisms that emerge today, often couched in the language of conspiracy and deflection, conspiracy because that provides a simple solution, ignore the intricate historical and legal contexts that actually underpinned these decisions. Sachs' argument, by contrast, seems to imply that such expansions were orchestrated to serve some ulterior global interest, an assertion that dangerously oversimplifies decades of complex international relations and comes very close to promoting some sort of conspiracy theory, which is unsubstantiated itself. Moreover, the discourse around US interventionism, this narrative of covert regime change and grand strategic maneuvers, has been repeatedly employed to explain global tension. And while it's true that American foreign policy has at times been interventionist, reducing intricate historical developments to simplistic dichotomies does a disservice to the realities on the ground. These policies were not merely the product of one individual ambition, but they emerged from broader, often chaotic uh, events, the interplay of international events. And in this light, any attempt by Sachs to attribute singular intention or to exonerate other actors, such as Trump's ostensible negotiations with Putin, amounts to a deflection rather than a serious criticism. And it's particularly telling that the sudden prominence of Professor Sachs' views coincides with a period of heightened political theatre, one in which figures like President Trump are busy boasting about their capacity to broker a peace deal with Putin. And while Trump's own initiatives, however grandiose in rhetoric, however boastful, have so far contributed little more than chaos and friction, Sachs' emergence appears timed to divert attention. Instead of offering a balanced analysis of US interventionist policies and the realpolitik of Eastern Europe, he opts to focus on the contested veracity of an unverified document and tittle-tattle. And such a move is not an act of scholarly curiosity. It's a maneuver that serves to muddy the debate, to pander to the conspiracy theorists, to shift focus away from accountability and the real challenges facing the international community. This isn't the behavior of a serious scholar. This is the behavior of somebody of a clown and somebody who is seeking headlines and clickbait. This is not the behavior of a serious academic. Let me make that really clear. If Sachs actually wants to do something credible, then he should engage with other people in the academic community, or he should engage properly and seriously. This tittle tattle is beneath contempt. So while he may captivate his captive audience on YouTube, or in the various UN, Senate, and whatever it is, organizations that have given him time under his democratic right, with his sophisticated language, his long words, his impressive erudition. Long words don't make somebody actually credible. We can all do sesquipedalian vocabulary if we want to. We just look it up, or maybe it comes naturally. I love long words, but I hope I'm wise enough to know that that a polysyllabic word doesn't mean that I own the truth. I was told years and years ago that what is the mark of intelligence is not the ability to use long words, but the ability to express a complicated idea in a way that is understandable to an intelligent 7-year-old. Short words, pithy arguments, and accurate, precision-based descriptions. This is what Jeffrey Sachs is lacking. And his arguments ultimately rest on the foundation of unverified claims and selective historical reinterpretation. And by allowing himself to be drawn into a debate over an unseen document, and by disregarding established instruments like the Budapest Memorandum, he not only misrepresents the facts, but he also risks compromising the vital principle of sovereignty. We need to remain vigilant. Our policies, our public discourse should be guided by transparent evidence and by a steadfast commitment to the legal and the moral principles that have sustained international order. Sovereignty isn't a bargaining chip to be manipulated by speculative narrative, by spurious professors. It's a fundamental right that needs to be preserved regardless of the shifting tides of political rhetoric. And I think, as ever, one should go back to the debates at the end of the Roman Republic between the populists who were trying to unsettle the established order by appealing to mob rule, effectively, and we see a similar thing in Professor Jeffrey Sachs' pitches. These aren't pitches for serious debate. They're pitches to get above the audience that he's actually talking to this populist to appeal as a populist with calculated rhetoric and with the image of academic respectability. He is cheapening the tool, and he is bringing the academic community as such into disrespect. And I find that personally very disturbing. It's the job of academics to look at the facts. It's the job of academics, I think, also to entertain. And from that point of view, he is deeply entertaining. But it is important to look at the facts. And yeah, academics are there to challenge the existing narrative, to present alternative narratives, and then to themselves be challenged, not to be shot down with a sort of with a one-line sentence. So I'm not shooting Professor Jeffrey Sachs down with a one-line sentence. I'm saying that he's wrong, and I hope I'm saying why. And I would welcome his response, but I think he's got better things to do than mess around with me, and but he should get on with those things, and he should look more seriously at the Budapest Memorandum and whether or not that compromises the argument that he's putting forward. I think looking for a single overarching solution is always dangerous. The world isn't simplistic. And at the heart of Jeffrey Sachs's presentation is this single overwhelming solution. And it's one that's been put forward by Putin's Kremlin. And I think as such it should be treated with a certain amount of caution. Lavrov was on about it yesterday in Turkey, and he was only too eager to attribute the failure of the attempts to gain peace in Ukraine to Boris Johnson whispering in Zelensky's ear. I don't believe Boris Johnson is fundamentally responsible for not having peace at the moment, the people who are responsible for not having peace at the moment lie in the Kremlin. They don't lie in the arms of Carrie.